So I think the advice I'd give is the decision you make now is not, it doesn't have to be, I have made this decision and that is it for my career. This first starting role is where I'm going to end up, because it's really not. And actually, if you have practical skills, and by that I don't necessarily mean technical skills, I don't necessarily mean being a lawyer or being an IT specialist. I mean the ability to adapt to your surroundings, to talk to people, to understand problems, and to the curiosity to try and solve them. Those are the sorts of things that will help set you up for life. My name is Sophie Richards. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the Sovereign Advisory sector at Dentons, who are the world's largest global law firm, both in terms of number of lawyers and in terms of our presence in different locations. So I've been doing that for, I think it's actually a year today. And I have also on the side been completing an executive MBA with my dissertation, which is around creating a strategic framework for embedding well-being at that sort of strategic level, which was a gap I'd sort of noticed in the market. So my current role, our team, Sovereign Advisory, is a bit like a startup inside a scale up inside a mature business. So it's quite an interesting place to work. So we work in a very different way to the other parts of Dentons. And my role is a lot around integrating us better with Dentons and making the most of leveraging those more mature capabilities to help us achieve our goals. But it's also around supporting and developing strategy, so that we're looking ahead, looking into that kind of uncertain future and going, what's the best route for us, and bringing lots of different stakeholders into those conversations. But then, because we are kind of a bit like a startup, it's also firefighting, so it can be solving a really small problem, like how do we report on this? So it can be digging back into Excel, which I haven't used in this sort of way in many years, to try and solve, what is on the surface a small problem, but is a really crucial bit of information to help us decide how we move forward. So I grew up in Southeast London, and then went to Bristol for university and loved Bristol and stayed. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet. That was until I was probably about 14, 15. That was I will be a vet. I will be a vet. And actually, I didn't really gel with the science teachers we had at my school, and I decided not to pursue the A levels I would have needed in order to have any shot at getting into a veterinary school. So I ended up going more into sort of the IT side of things. So I did IT at GCSE, computing at A levels, along with economics, maths, French, and general studies. So really fun spread of but I think once I realized that being a vet maybe wasn't the right thing for me, I didn't really know where I was going to go with it. So I was just like, I'm just going to follow what interests me. And actually that's a theme that it's kind of gone all the way throughout my career, has been oh, that's really interesting, I want to find out more about it. So it's partly curiosity and partly interest. So I started out doing computer science at university, quickly realized that I had a disagreement in terms of how it was marked. So it was marked very much on getting the right outcome rather than going through the right thought processes to get there. And I disagreed with that, somewhat arrogant for an 18-year-old. And I switched to philosophy, which is kind of the other end of the spectrum. And actually, looking back, I think, as some business aside, I think a joint honours degree would probably have suited me better, because I enjoyed the problem solving elements of the computer science, but the kind of really stretching my mind in the philosophy side of things, but too much of one, and actually I struggled to focus. But I did manage to get a degree despite multiple knee surgeries and some quite challenging stuff happening in my personal life. And then I went into initially data management in a tiny marketing company. And my career it's been fair to say, it's been very squiggly career. So I think the advice I'd give is the decision you make now is not, it doesn't have to be, I have made this decision and that is it for my career. This first starting role is where I'm going to end up, because it's really not. And actually, if you have practical skills, and by that I don't necessarily mean technical skills, I don't necessarily mean being a lawyer or being an IT specialist, I mean the ability to adapt to your surroundings, to talk to people, to understand problems, and to the curiosity to try and solve them. Those are the sorts of things that will help set you up for life. And actually, I was very anxious when I came out of university. I'm still not sure doing an undergraduate degree was the right choice for me at the time. I actually think I may have been better off going straight into the workplace. But, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So my advice would be, don't get too caught up on getting into that graduate program or that apprenticeship. Try and find something that you find interesting, and opportunities will open up from there. There are a few things I look back on where I was given bad advice by well-meaning people, such as, oh, well, you're expected to remain at this level for 2 or 3 years before you move on. And actually, within 6 months, I'd nailed the job and I was ready for the next level up. Or I have held myself back by going, I can't go for that grade role because I'm a lot younger than the other people, or I think in a slightly different way. And actually, I look back and I go, those are the times where maybe I should have just gone for it a little bit earlier. And I think I've been very lucky in that my mum is a super amazing person and has been my mentor since very early on. So whilst, you know, I haven't had those kind of handshake introductions to someone at Goldman Sachs who's going to give you an apprenticeship, it's still, that's really helped me in my career, as having someone and then a group of people as I've kind of progressed through my career who I can go, I've got this problem, I'm not sure how to approach it, what do you think? And getting those kind of different ideas from a variety of people's really helped me. So my advice would be, try and find those people who you enjoy working with or who you respect, and build that relationship with them, so that it's not necessarily that they are formally your mentor, but they are people who you can go back to throughout your career and say, I've got this problem, what do you think? But I think also what goes off the back of that is those sorts of relationships are always two-way. So as you get further up the organization, it's harder to connect with what's going on the ground floor, and actually, or to see things from a different generation's perspective. So actually, I think if you're in that sort of relationship, you need to understand it's two-way. You are bringing something to the table too. You're not just asking for a favor. It very much is a two-way thing. Yeah. And actually, that's, yeah, even with my mum, it's been two-way, because she's come to me with people problems and gone, what do I do? I'm like, well, have you tried that? Or have you considered it from that perspective? But the same with other people who've become, a lot of them actually are friends as well as mentors. But it's that very much two-way thing.